Welcome back to another episode of Talking Tarkov. I'm the EarLegAthlete here with.
Hey Dizzle.
Let's go ahead and get right into it. So we have a little bit of information Nikita posted on Twitter for us today. So he showed the new lever actions. There we go. Showed the loading animation for a lever action rifle, and it looks to be a newer, probably a Henry rifle, because that just kind of makes the most sense. Yeah, there it is. The lever action. So it looks like a Henry lever action X model 4570. It's their newer polymer stock, polymer foregrip. It's got rail attachments. It's got a threaded barrel, and I do believe it can have a Picatinny rail and optics mounted to it. And if that's the case, it's a 4570.
Yeah, what it looks like. I would assume it's going to be pretty moddable and usable in game. The round looks big enough to do some damage, so seems like it's going to be a decent addition.
Yeah, the 4570 is devastating. It is quite a large round. I mean, you can tell by the chamber here. It's a big boy. It's not a small round by any means. It looked like the 30-06. It's again just pretty lethal. But yeah, so that's we know that's here for, or we don't know when that's coming, but we know they're working on it. They're obviously dialing everything in. Uh, it's nice to see all this coming together. The fact that we're getting a lever action rifle is pretty sweet.
Yeah, they've been teased for a while.
We also got the new jacket they teased. It looks pretty good. It's like a dirty, blood splattered camouflage jacket. It's got white stripes down the side of it.
Yeah, yeah, looks like an alternate killer jacket.
It does look like an alternate Killa jacket. Do you think that's what it is alternate Killa, like for him to wear? Do you think it's something we're gonna be able to get, or?
I feel like anything they're working on like that right now is probably for us to either earn or to buy, just because everyone's been telling them, like that's what we want is stuff we can purchase. I feel like a lot of their leaks are just showing like future stuff that we'll be able to grab. Now, not saying they couldn't let Killa also wear it, you know what I mean? But
Yeah, well, I mean, it could be like another situation with tracksuit
yeah,
where it's
yeah,
earnable in game,
100%.
but I would imagine it's probably purchasable through Arena and more than likely be available on EFT too. It looks good though.
Or
It looks awesome.
even could be part of the first battle pass, you know what I mean? Like there's
That's
probably a lot of
true.
stuff they're
Yeah,
working on for that.
yeah, that is a good point. I forgot about the battle pass system, and that's only for Arena though, right? I mean,
Correct,
like the
yes.
clothing, the cosmetic stuff, you'll probably be able to bring into EFT, but
Yeah, yeah, you can
the
only
battle
earn it through
pass
arena.
will never be on Escape from Tarkov,
Right.
which is, I mean, obviously that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Gives them the opportunity to make some money and keep doing what they're doing. Gives us a chance to
Yep.
get some sweet drip. Finally, have plenty of options.
Yeah, if you wanna support them or get some cool stuff, you can buy it, and everyone should be happy.
I don't think there's anything else outside of, like, there were a couple small patch notes, just like audio fixes and stuff like that. Nothing, I
Audio
wouldn't say.
fixes, anti-cheat update, and the PvE, uh, local server option. Pretty big news among the PvE community.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the patch notes now. Here they are. Yeah, the comprehensive update to anti cheat components. That's huge.
Yeah,
We
always a good
obviously,
thing.
yeah, we're not going to know what that is. What it entails, how in depth it goes. We're not going to know any of that, but knowing that they're making updates to the anti cheat is always a good thing. Hopefully, we see some ban waves and stuff come through, and some cleaning up of the servers. The thorax armor hitbox fix, which is still not technically fixed, I guess.
It still has issues.
Yeah. We still have the issue with getting shot in the thorax multiple times through one bullet. It'll be a single shot, and
Yeah, if anyone wants to see, like, a good video about it, Giga Beef did a really good video on it, and it explains kinda what the issue is. Basically, when a bullet penetrates 2 different layers of armor, it's causing double damage. Only on first shots, though, for some reason, but he explains it really well, so check that video out if you're interested.
yeah, he does a really good job breaking it down. They fixed the complete muffling of player sounds behind an open door in certain cases on woods, which again I think is more than woods, but um, knowing like I said a second ago, audio fixes happening are just always great.
Right.
It's steps in the right direction.
Yeah, and hopefully they
Um,
just go map by map by map.
yeah, they added the ability to select local or server-based play on the location selection screen in the PVE mode. So,
Yeah,
now we're
huge,
able
huge
to,
update.
yeah, absolutely massive. Now you can, when you go to select your location, up on the top right, you can click a box that says play on BSG servers, and that'll put you off of local. So you'll get your frame rate back, you'll get your performance back,
Yeah.
which
Yeah, because if you
everybody
played
wants already.
solo,
We have to have the what we,
yeah, if you
got
played solo PvE, you noticed a huge hit when they introduced the local servers. Um, so everybody was like, I can't even play by myself. You can only play with a teammate. I can only play on BSG servers. Like Tarkov's performance already not the best. So whenever you add something that halves it, it's
yeah,
not good.
yeah,
So, just having those 20 to 50 frames back is a great thing. Hopefully, they
yeah,
can find a way to keep it. I know it's going to clog the servers up, and it's a conversation we've had before. There's hopefully a solution to where they can get PVE on BSG servers permanently, but it's going to take some tweaking because
yeah.
we already
This
know how servers are. Like they get congested pretty easily.
I would imagine it'll be quite a few tweaks before they get it to where PVE is able to play permanently on BSG servers.
I was surprised that they added this
Yeah,
fast. So maybe they've got it figured out. Maybe they've got more server capacity now. Maybe they, went out and purchased some more servers. And maybe that's why they're testing it out.
yeah, it's true.
Or maybe also the fact that it's, mid wipe, the player base on
The
PvP has died back, and maybe
Yeah,
PvE
well, I'd say
PvE is
even on PVE players have died off. Like it's been out long enough
probably,
that
but a
a
lot of
chunk
people
of
seem
people
to
are.
switch from PvP to PvE. So I almost wonder if they've noticed that and they're like, well, let's just put PvE on the BSG servers too because that's where most of the population is. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know if
mean
that's
that's
true,
fair.
but could be.
It's very possible. Not only did being on a local server affect your performance and your frame rate, but there were a lot of other issues with it too.
Yeah, a lot of
Task
bugs.
issues, BTR bugs,
In the
Lightkeeper
in-game
task
tasking,
bugging. Yeah,
yeah, it was
it was
bugging it
not
out.
ideal.
Like keep BTR,
Well,
anything that
and the
was
fact that you
performed
couldn't
in
even get
game.
over to Lightkeeper just because the task would break before you could even start it. It's like
Yeah.
that's not great. That's not anything anybody wants. It's a pretty exciting moment to, especially your first time going over to Lightkeeper, and then to be stuck on it for a few months sucks.
Which to their credit, they did get that fixed.
Yeah, they did, but it wasn't. It wasn't, and that's I mean that obviously wasn't even connected to local servers entirely, but one of the fixes involved not being on local servers. Um, or there was still a bug if you were on local servers that you would be locked out of the task for whatever reason.
Yeah, it was
Um,
happening on both. It was happening
yeah,
on both
then the
servers.
BTR task, which they had already moved it over on Woods, they'd moved Woods to BSG servers full time already.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then fix the inability to interact with items received as rewards from the BTR task driver in the same raid, and then fix the Lightkeeper not giving out task rewards in PVE mode if the player's inventory was full. So that's I don't think either one of us ran into those. We've ran into some BTR bugs like flipping and being on its side already, stuff like
Right.
that, but nothing task related.
Yeah, with Lightkeeper and BTR, anytime I got a reward, I had a pretty empty inventory, so I didn't have to worry about that.
Well, we don't really go in raid too often looking to loot either.
Right.
Well, a lot of players are still at that mid white point, or at least mid level point for them for PVE.
Yeah, most of the
Um,
time, if we were doing either one of those, it was just to go do that and get out.
yeah, a couple other niche things that they fixed. Fixed the cause of a white square appearing after dragging ballistic plates from plate carriers. Fixed error 228 when trying to switch to mannequin equipment immediately after building the gear rack zone in the hideout. And fixed the cause of the BTR flipping while driving in certain areas and adjusted the reverb effect on outdoor locations. That one's actually pretty big.
Yeah. Yeah, there were some issues with, reverb on several different, items on your gun, on your footsteps.
Yeah, it
Um,
was
I've noticed it a few times.
even like dropping your backpack if you were close to a wall, it could make, an extreme reverb echo, and it was just loud.
Yeah.
Loading into raid a few times, we'd hear loud clanking metal and just weird noises.
Yeah, definitely a good fix.
But yeah, that's pretty much the patch notes. Do you think BSG has done a good job with balancing the gameplay loop? Have they made the game too easy, too hard, or is it in a comfortable spot for players of all skill levels? Do you think anybody can just, no matter how much time you've been playing, no matter how new you are, do you think the average player base can just hop on and enjoy the game at any and all skill levels still? Or do you think it's unbalanced in one way or the other?
I mean, for what it is, I feel like they've maintained, the same difficulty throughout the additions and updates and whatnot. I don't feel like they've went too far either way. If you've had a tough time, adapting to Tarkov before, I feel like you're still gonna have a tough time. I don't think they've went, to the extreme on either end. I think it's in a good place still.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like most of your players that know the game well enough are. I think that Tarkov gives you its own challenges. I guess is the way I want to put that. So it's you kind of run into different difficulty spikes throughout your gameplay cycle. As you're leveling, as you're learning, just going in raid is hard. But then as you've learned a bit, you know your rooms, you know where you can go, you know where loot spawns, where PMCs spawn, and now you're doing something else. You're actively searching for fights, right? And then your next progression point is like, well, now I need to go. Now I need to go hunt bosses, right? Or like now I'm gonna go hunt cultists. So it's like you're constantly adding difficulty levels and caps to yourself as you progress, I guess, which is kind of I think a pretty nice way of keeping it fresh at any point in the game. Granted, you have to actively go out and look for that stuff. You can always just go and raid and not enjoy your time and be miserable in Tarkov. But I don't,
Yeah, it's still a
like,
difficult game.
yeah,
It's still difficult. If you don't put effort into learning the game, you're not gonna learn the game. Um, but yeah, that's just it's the way I feel like it's, always been, and I feel like they've kept it true to, its roots and just no matter how many people complain about, new people can't, adapt. I think they've, never really given in, never really changed it up. At
well,
least nothing dramatic.
yeah, and Tarkov has always been advertised as just that, just a hardcore extraction survival shooter, right? It's always been labeled as and put forward as this hardcore game that may not be for everyone and definitely might not be for you. Like it's just one of those things you have to find out and get into the game and play. But yeah, I think they've done a really good job of just keeping it what it started as, and to be able
Yeah.
to add all the elements that they've added and keep it true to itself, like you said. I think that's a hats off to BSG type of thing. They've a lot of game studios would probably take the easy way out in a lot of these situations, and I just yeah, I think they've done a pretty good job with it. I think they find ways to keep the game not easy to learn but manageable. Like as a new
Right.
player coming into Tarkov, there's enough resources, there's enough information, there's a wiki that has every task on it. There's ways to make the game easy for yourself. You kind of just have to look for them. There's
Yeah.
Reddit. Like everyone active on the internet today knows of these things. These aren't like hidden secrets, right?
Right.
Most people know, oh, I'm stuck on this task. What the fuck am I even doing here? Look it up, right? And the first thing you're
Yeah.
gonna get is the wiki. So
Yeah,
you're
you have to
pretty
use outside information.
yeah, and so you're pretty set up, not perfectly. You still have to find your extracts. You still have to figure out the map layout and where you are, and there's a lot of back and forth that you have to do to learn it. But once you start getting to that point, you're done scavving, you're taking in your PMC now, and now you're progressing. Like they've done things to make that portion of the game somewhat easier. It seems like adding the ammo chart to the game so that you can just look at it, because that was a little more niche. Less people knew
Yeah,
about a lot of that. Giving you your tape measure and passing out certain things, just kind of not. I don't want to say hand holding and making the game easy, because that's not necessarily what they did, but they kind of did. You know what I mean? Like they've made the introductory phase of the game more user friendly, while still being able to keep the same raid that that person's learning the game in. There's a 5,000 hour player in there slaying bosses. Like that's
right. It's
well
never gonna
done
be
on
easy
their
'cause
part.
Tarkov's
Right. It's not an easy
never
game.
yeah, yeah, it's never gonna be easy. Um, they started doing the YouTube tutorials where, they explain everything. That
Yeah,
was
the
new,
field
that was kinda
guide.
cool.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
cool.
um, so yeah, that you can definitely tell moving, they're moving towards having more information ready to new players, and that's a good thing because information is always the thing that holds you back.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're missing when you play Tarkov. You have no idea where the extracts are. You don't get a map. You don't get a person you can talk to that is going to explain everything to you.
Yeah.
You have to figure it out. So information is the one thing that, as long as they give people access to it and don't change the core of the game, then I'm fine with that. And I feel like that doesn't change the difficulty. It just makes it easier for new people to get
Get their get their
into the
feet wet.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're way more capable of not necessarily surviving, because you're gonna die a lot, but surviving that initial Tarkov shock, right? Because at first you go in, you die a few times, you have no idea what happened, but at least with a lot of the information that's out there and that they put in front of you now, it just feels a little bit easier. And I hate using that term, but like that's essentially what they've done. It's made that introductory phase just a little bit easier,
yeah,
a little bit more
stuff's readily
manageable for new
available.
players, but still being able to keep, you know, there's no tutorial level for a new player. You're going into the raid with everybody else. So the fact
Yeah,
that
the
they're
game's not
in
easier.
no,
It's
no.
the information's more available. It's
Yeah,
pretty
that's all
much
it
all
is.
it is.
Yeah. But that's such a big part of Tarkov is the information. It's just cool to me, and I think it just kind of shows like that they're about the game. The studio's about the game. Like they genuinely care about the progression. They care about the new player cycle and the loop for them and how they learn and play the game, as well as making sure that those players that have been around for a while, and the high level guys and the guys that just grind it out, making sure they still have their hardcore extraction survival Tarkov. Like that's done really well. And the fact that a new player is in the same raid as that experienced player, just being able to figure, it's just funny to see, well, not funny, it's just interesting to see the levels at which the game progresses and shows itself in a single raid. It's just they've done well. They've balanced it
Yeah,
well. They've got the gameplay loop smoothed out. I think they're doing really well with it.
and it's probably only gonna get more and more like that as we approach 1.0 because they're gonna try to do, I imagine, a repush to the, new player just because that's who you're gonna try to sell copies to because everybody else that's already playing has a
Right,
copy.
we already own it. Yeah.
So you're gonna try to make it more new player friendly. Not easier, but just more less you're
It's so hard not to make just say easier, right? Like,
well,
because it's kind of what they
it's
do, but like it's not easy.
yeah, I don't even really consider it easier. It's just less uh you don't have to go out and about looking for information. They're giving you the information. And I think that's the hardest part of Tarkov is if you're a new player and you really don't know anything about it, finding the information because there's so much out there and there's so much that's not explained. You'll have someone be like, "Oh, well, everybody knows it's blah blah blah," and you're a new player
Right,
like, "No, I
right.
don't know. Like, I have no idea what you're
Yeah.
talking about." So it's like if they can make, the core of the game easier to figure out without having to search the internet, then I just consider that, like, just
Almost
more
making,
welcoming.
yeah.
The gameplay loop stays the same as far
Right,
as
nothing
difficulty,
changes. Yeah.
but
That
learning
person
the game
grade
is just
1 could
more.
very well run into a boss like that,
Yeah,
or just
yeah,
get
just learning the
mowed down.
game
Yeah.
mechanics.
It feels like it helps you so much more than you probably realize at the time. But yeah, like visual and uh audio cues and then the information. Like that's what you see, what you hear, and what you know. The three things that keep you alive in Tarkov. But yeah, I think that they have done a really good job balancing it and keeping the gameplay loop solid for everyone and not just some super hardcore thing that new players can't do and not something that only new players want to do because it's not fun anymore after so long. Like they've done a really good job, which I think we all know. I mean, they're going on 10 years strong as a company with this game, and they I think I think it speaks for itself that everyone's enjoying what they're doing.
Yeah,
Um, Kind of on the same pace. Do you think BSG has done? Do you think they've done a good job keeping the realism in place while keeping functionality of the game smooth and entertaining? Because like the fact that all the items that you can put on your kit, your gun, your ammo, all these things are real, and there's certain aspects of it that are based in reality, inertia to a degree, your weight system, your stamina, your energy and hydration, all those things being tied to it. Do you think they've taken it too far? Do you think it's in a good spot? Do you think they could do a little more? Where do you find yourself over fixated on the realism, or do you find it to be a nice blend?
I think it's a good blend of gameplay versus realism. Like, I think, like you said, on a few things they could have, if they wanted to, they could have went way further. Especially with the weight system and inertia. It's like if they wanted to, they could have made it where, if you have 2 guns on you, you and a full backpack, you're not jumping, you're not running.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and they
absolutely.
could have just been like, "Well, we're sticking to realism,"
Right.
and
They could
nobody
have been
really could have
justified that.
argued.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, no one could have really argued, but they didn't. They still made it a game where, you don't wanna have to be stuck where you can't run and jump in a game, so limiting that a little bit caused enough of an uproar to where, if they woulda went full tilt on it, everybody woulda lost their shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, just the little things, they've tweaked enough to keep it in line with realistic, but at the same time, making it still a playable game to where you're not, you know, just too worried about, like, "Oh, I can't do this
Every
because
little
then this is gonna
aspect. Yeah,
happen," or yeah, yeah. It's like you
yeah.
can still play the game, have fun, but it still is grounded in realism as I think you can make a game.
Right. Yeah. I
Like you
mean, they
said, that everything being, real is a big part of that. It keeps it keeps you in the game because it's like you just have anything and
there's a
everything you look
connection
at,
to it.
you can
Right.
yeah, you can be like, that's relatable because it's something you
Excuse me.
can see or do in real life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and it never strays too far from that. So, I think they've done about as good as you can do.
I mean, if they would have went more extreme with those kind of things, it would have been a chore and a job to play the game because I mean, I know most people probably haven't, but wearing armor plate or plate carrier and a rig and a rifle and then a pistol on your hip and just like a backpack with some stuff in it and just being relatively kitted and just even doing an obstacle course and shooting or just being at the range all day, like that stuff wears you down as it is. So if you could imagine walking around with 50, 60 kilos on your person and you are running, jumping, and you're doing this for hours on end because think, every 10 minutes is an hour in raid,
I think so, yeah.
something along those lines. So, if you're just sprinting and eating once and drinking a sip of water here and there and just sprint, jump, shoot, run, shoot, going crazy like you do as a PMC in Tarkov, you're going to be miserable. And they could have made it way more realistic in the idea that everything you do has a much more encumbering effect.
Yeah. Yeah, because there are games who have went there.
Yeah,
I mean, not a lot, but, you look at, like, real military sims, like, you look at Squad or Arma, it's like the mechanics get insane, like, you have so many different combinations of buttons to do this and that, and, like, they they've kept it, I think, at a good middle ground, while also keeping it real enough to where you can say it's a realistic shooter, especially in
yeah,
the genre that it's in.
right. Yeah, yeah, that is a big chunk of that
Yeah,
too.
when it comes to extraction shooters, it's the most realistic by far.
Yeah,
I mean,
they steered
I
away
don't
from the arcadey feel as much as possible. They keep it in the realm of realism to where it's relatable and there's a connection to it, and you can, you know, put this gun part that you have on this build at home, or this build that you want to do, and you can build it in game, and you can kind of take it to your shooting range or in raid and kind of get an idea for how it's actually going to react and feel, and things like that. Like, obviously you're not going to get a true accurate one for one feeling of shooting a gun because it's completely different. But for what
no,
you
but
can do building it out in a video game and seeing the
yeah,
functionality of it because it is accurate in that degree, I
yeah,
mean that's worth something, right? Like, that's pretty fucking
yeah.
cool.
Compared to other shooters, it's the most realistic feeling you're gonna get from building a gun and taking it out and seeing how it performs and checking different parts when you put them on there, how it alters the weapon and different ammunition, how it performs. It's like it's the only game where you're gonna be able to get a similar to real life, understanding of what things do and what this does for this, and you know what I mean? It's just like they've done a
Right.
great job at keeping it like as real as you can when it comes to gun mechanics
But
and
still
bullets and
entertaining.
yeah, but at the same
Yeah.
time it's still a very good, game.
Well, in the reverse of that, you can take things about shooting and tactical movement and this, that, and the other, and you can take some of your knowledge that in real life, and you can implement that into the game, and main it holds up. It stays true.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, so it's just cool that it's that grounded, and they've kept it that realistic. That
Well, and vice
there's
versa. You
right,
learn a lot from it,
yeah,
if you don't
absolutely.
know stuff, you can learn a whole lot and apply it to real life.
Yeah, you could. I would feel 100% comfortable taking you to range and just letting you handle and maintain guns on your, like.
Yeah.
I know you've shot before, but like,
Right.
just based off the knowledge you've gained and like things and understand, and like, I wouldn't feel like I'd have to hover and be up your ass because you're
Yeah.
comfortable enough with the firearm. Even if a lot of that is just from Tarkov, it's still accurate, which
Yeah, if I
is
hadn't shot before, I think I could learn enough, you know what I mean, to understand how to handle and respect a weapon, you know what I mean?
right. Yeah, I mean, and as an adult, obviously, in most situations, at least when it comes to real shooting, I think everyone understands the basic rules. Don't point at anything you don't want to kill. You know, keep your finger off the
Yeah,
trigger until you're
hopefully.
ready to shoot. Make sure you got something clear behind you or behind your target, whatever you're shooting at. Common sense stuff comes into play, and most people understand that. So, but just the idea that someone, it's hard to make this statement because it's kind of silly, but it's almost still true, or it is still true. Like, if you had never shot before outside of playing Tarkov, I feel like if I gave you my AR-15 and you understood the basics of shooting down range, you would feel fairly comfortable, at least flipping safety, firing your rifle, racking it, doing all that. So it's just interesting to
Yeah.
me that
That's
they've been able to keep it so realistic that people can actually learn how to properly shoot a firearm, or properly, hold and maintain, and how to put parts on and this, that, and the other because of a video game. Like, that's just cool.
well, and knowing that they've kept everything real, it's so much different than what you get from other games because you can master a game and, say a Call of Duty and learn every gun in there. 95% of that you're not gonna be able to apply to real life because the guns are gonna be altered somewhat. Like, there's no in-depth, like, gun,
Build
customization.
mechanic, right?
Yeah, like, it's you just the bullets are all just, you got your
You just
penetrating
have,
bullets and your
yeah,
soft
yeah,
bullets, you know what I mean? And that's only as of late, like, you didn't even used to ever have that.
right. It used to just be
Like, you just
bullets.
had
Yeah,
you got 9 millimeter or you got
yeah.
5.56, and,
And all
that
that
was
really
as deep as
affected
it
was
went.
velocity, like how
Right,
fast it shoots. But
right, or a
like,
suppressor affected the sound and, you know what I
well,
mean? Like, that's as deep
yeah,
as it went in every
exactly.
other game,
Right.
and it's
You
and
get
I
such a
feel like
rudimentary, basic, just like here's
yeah,
some parts because they look cool. I run
but
this
with
because it's
Tarkov
fun.
especially once you learn that it's all legit stuff in the game, it's like you can really feel comfortable like applying what you learn in Tarkov to real world guns and just real world, items in general cuz not just guns, but the armor, the backpacks, the items you can pick up, like
Yeah,
everything
everything.
is something that you can actually go to wherever it's from and see it in real life. Like,
The LEDX, the graphics card,
yeah,
the
the food,
yeah,
the
um,
buildings, the
yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's the other
everything.
side of it too. Is that all the map locations, while they may not be one for one, exact replicas of the location, they are all inspired and derived from real life locations. The BSG developers just kind of went around and took pictures of this, that, and the other. Like Health Resort is a real place, and the oh my gosh, what's it called? It's on the same map.
Uh,
The pier. The pier is
oh,
a
okay.
real place, and who's to say that Sanitar's cottage isn't actually there? And then the sawmill on Woods obviously is just a sawmill that they went and saw, but like they got the general idea for it because of seeing that sawmill in real life. Maybe, similar design aspects, the road that goes around. It's just like this small pit area down in this valley. Like, who knows? But for the vast majority of the buildings and things that you see, it's all taken from real life stuff. Obviously, there's
Yeah,
some creative leadway, and like
yeah,
streets is not a one to one, But again,
yeah.
it's just really cool and interesting to see. Like even grass and trees are actually real. I don't know if you knew that much, but like they
I've never
actually
heard of it,
planted those
but
in game. But no, it
oh,
is really cool to see that you are playing this video game where you're doing all this stuff and looting and you're worrying about this, that, and the other, and you're fighting and doing this and that, and you're using an entire kit and gun that are entirely real, shooting at players that are running the same exact, you're not same exact, but running real things that you can actually have and buy with loot that you can actually go buy on a map that's derived from a real place, but
yeah,
yet you're somehow able to be disconnected enough from that idea that you're still just playing a video game. And
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, obviously,
That's the
Tarkov is,
balance.
yeah, yeah, like it is just a video game, but
But they went
the
above and beyond when it comes to
right,
realism
right,
because no other game has done that as far as made the economy, the just the maps, the items, like the fact that they took all that and made it as close to real life as possible. That separates Tarkov from any other game I can think of. Like, there's some games that, yes, they have real guns and real,
backpacks
bullets
or this, that, and the
and
other, and yeah,
yeah, and just, everything, like, they calculate, like, legit ballistics and stuff, but it's
yeah,
like Tarkov's went that extra step and just made anything and everything that can be real is real.
yeah, and it shows a level of commitment too. They haven't chose to just stop doing that and start taking the easy way out, or they haven't chose to stop going for potential licensing or just deals with these manufacturers and things. But it's the fact that, and it's not just the fact that it's all realistic and it's all set in reality, and like all the items, everything is just from this place that we know. And what the fuck, what did I say? It's not just that all the items, all the stuff is real. It's that the functionality and the entertainment side of it, like the fact that we're playing a video game set in 20 whatever Russia, with this sectioned off zone in this small or large area, this large war zone, and we're doing all this stuff with all these things that are real in the current time, but it's just it throws me off so much because it's I
Yeah,
rarely think about it in raid.
right. Yeah, and
Like
you're 90% of people probably never think about it. Like,
right.
it's something that,
That's
it's
true. That's
just
probably true.
it's far from your mind, when you're just playing the game, but when you actually sit back and think about it, it's like they've really went above and beyond of what they had to. They could have accomplished 90% of what they have and probably saved 50% of the effort. Like, there's a lot of money and time they could have saved just
Because
going
they're
a
like
different route.
photo scanning in
Yeah,
each
because all
individual
this
item over
costs
and yeah.
money and time and developers and, like, getting all this stuff right. You had to go out and test things. You had to actually be out in the world doing real testing. Like, it's stuff that you can copy if you wanna just do the easy thing and make things up as you go and, show
Right,
that
give
you have all
arbitrary
this cool
stats and
stuff.
numbers and yeah.
Yeah, you have all this cool stuff in your game, but you're just making everything up as you go. Like, you give it
Right.
the name that people recognize, but you don't care about stats or you don't care
Yeah,
about what it's actually
bullet
doing in
velocity
real
doesn't
life.
make any difference. Right, right,
Yeah,
right.
you don't put 15 different options that you can put on as a suppressor and all of them change the stats differently. Like,
Right, yeah.
for each weapon, like,
And
and it just
accurately.
yeah, and it just shows you, like, that's the complexity of Tarkov. Like, their commitment to keeping it real has caused them to not only make a great game, but make a unique game that nobody has really ever matched or even tried to.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, no one
it's a
really attempts it.
huge task.
Yeah,
I mean, we make jokes all the time about like BSG's code, but even if their code is running perfectly and they've got it all ironed out, imagine just the size of it, just the amount of written out code for
yeah,
all these different things. Like it's absurd. Each
yeah,
individual round and all this different stuff happening in raid all at once, and then
yeah, and then the economy and,
yeah, a player
like
driven economy, a barter economy, a vendor economy, and then basing the price of like Bitcoin off of the real world
yeah,
Bitcoin and how it
yeah,
fluctuates. Like,
having to balance all that with other items that are in game. What spawn rate can I have this? How
right.
easy can this be obtained? Like, it goes deeper and deeper, like, there's just so much to it, and it's
And
like,
it's
I
still fun
it's
to play.
and it's stuff that they'll probably never get recognized for. Like, most
Yeah,
people, like I
yeah.
said, are never gonna care or think about it,
No,
but I think that's a testament to Nikita's vision that this is all from
absolutely.
him, like, all
Yeah.
this, like, he just thought of all this and made it this way and didn't, like, care what anyone said. Like, he didn't know Tarkov was gonna be a success. Like,
Right.
this is a
This is
lot
just a
of
passion project that he wanted to
yeah.
have. And
A lot of stuff that a lot of people, just probably would never have attempted, like, just because of the difficulty. Like, it's a difficult thing to do. There's a reason no one else has did it. Like,
if
you
if it was a
you look
single
at the
player game and if it was online, it could be so much more in depth and advanced than it is. But the
yeah,
fact that it's online and it's an extraction shooter to where you're in and out, that it's in line with like an MMO. You know what I mean? Like that's
yeah,
massive. It's absolutely huge. But it's a shooter, so there's far more happening. There's grenades. There's each individual round. There's all these things taking place, and now they've added explosive canisters. So it's just almost. I would imagine it's almost a nightmare to start messing with code and like trying to get in and change things like on a major scale.
oh, yeah,
It's
yeah. Just
absurd
from
that
the amount of things that there are and the balancing of each item, like, it's probably a
yeah.
very delicate process to change anything.
And I think that's what when a lot of people don't probably take into consideration either when it comes to like, oh, just fix the recoil and this or that, or fix the damage numbers on the penetration for this ammo and this armor or whatever, right?
It's like,
Um, it's not as simple as just change the number.
take a game like Valorant, COD, CS:GO. Their game modes are simple.
Yeah, very minimal.
Like, it's a simple game mode with a few mechanics. There's not much you can tweak. There's not much that can be changed. It's like if they run into a big issue, yeah, it's probably easy for them to fix because there's not much they have to go through. Like, there's not obviously, yes, there's balancing and there's different items and there are stats for certain things, but it's nowhere
Yeah.
near the complexity of Escape from Tarkov. Like,
No, the
not even
scale of
close.
Tarkov is insane.
The Tarkov's probably like 100 or 1,000 like Valorant. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, easily.
a and it's just like that's easy to look past when you're just a player who plays the game and you just want things to be good and you know what I mean? Like, you're not actually thinking about what's going on and behind the scenes, and
Right.
it's just it's amazing when you actually sit back and think about it, though, and you think about, like, how different and how much, more stuff has been put into this game,
Yeah, for sure.
and it's something that I feel like it should be recognized, and it just never is, or at least it's never talked about
Well, just
because
in the
it's like
last like 20 minutes that we've been sitting here talking, the amount of stuff that we've covered is more than most games have, and we're talking all this taking place in a single raid, right?
yeah.
Tarkov is just on a scale all of its own. And sure, there are games that have come behind it and copied what they do and doing the same thing. And it's not to take away from other studios and developers. I just think people don't realize
Well, and
the scale and
I'd be careful
the
even saying that because I
size.
don't feel like there's anyone that's doing the same thing as Tarkov. Like, there's
Right.
people
Well,
who
they're
have
not. Yeah.
tried yeah, there's people who tried to recreate it, but it's like it's always a dumbed down, like, you know,
Arcade,
less
super
yeah,
just dry
it's
version of Tarkov. Yeah.
yeah, it's just not as deep. Like, they take the main points of Tarkov and try to recreate them, but I feel like the
A
draw
lot
to
of the
Tarkov
realism and the grittiness
yeah,
and just the
it
that
gets left out.
environmental detail and aspects of it. Yeah, they're not able
Well,
to
because look how
copy
much
that.
time it takes. That's not an easy thing to do. Like, even if you have a big studio, like, that's time and money that most studios are not gonna put the time into because, number 1, they don't care about the game they're making, they're trying to make money. Number 2, they just they need to get it out as soon as possible. That's what it's about today, early access, then drop 1.0. It's like most games do that now within, like, a year, you know what I mean? Like, and it's for money, like, that's the reason studios make games, is for money. The difference with Tarkov, it seems like a lot of what they've done has not been for money, but for the passion, like, of the
Yeah.
game, like, for the game world, like, you can tell they're artistic dudes because not only do they make the game, but they make movies and, like, series about it. They do YouTube shorts with, like, ASMR on the
ASMR,
guns,
gun builds.
and
Yeah, dude,
yeah,
this shit's
it's
so
limitless,
good
like,
too, man.
it
Oh my
just
god, those are so good.
that's just some of the stuff that shows, like, this is
Yeah,
more of a passion project than a video game to a lot of
right.
them, and I think
Well, and
that's
I
just
think
what separates it, and no one is ever gonna be able to recreate that if they're just trying to, steal the hype and recreate, a game that's
Tarkov,
similar. It's like,
right.
if you don't have that part of it, you're just not gonna get there.
No.
I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like because all that stuff, everything we've just talked about, that is a reason why I feel like they've stuck to their principles of making the game as real as possible, but keeping the mechanics fun and playable for the average person that knows a little bit about, the game. I think it's about as good of a balance of it as you could have.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's fair.
yeah, I just don't have much to complain about, like, there's always a few things we've talked about, like the magazine loading, like, should you be able to load your mags out of your inventory? I think so, but Nikita said that's something that's difficult in the current engine, I don't know why, but
Well, yeah, I wonder what makes it difficult
I don't know. It's gotta be
because
something with the code,
yeah, you would think
has
that
to be.
we already grab food out of our backpack or rig or wherever and eat. We use meds. They go down in the total amount of it. Like if your AFAX at 400, you hit it, use 10 of it, you're at 390. So like decreasing values and using an item like a propofol and then it disappearing, or loading a magazine, putting in your gun and then firing it. Like there's ways of the ammo dispersing and leaving your rig anyway. So you would think that it has to be either on the animating side or on the code side. and it would make more
I
sense on the
definitely
code
don't think
side.
the animating yeah,
Right.
they've always been able to animate pretty easily,
Yeah.
but
I mean, it's
I my
literally the
guess
same as your
is
food.
right, when it comes to stuff like that, each thing like that that you're pulling out as far as, like, food or med kit or whatever, it's all one item. Yeah, it has values to it,
Right.
but bullets are different. They're actually each one individual item. Like, yeah, you can stack them, but when you shoot them in guns, like, they all have one individual
Right.
property, like,
Yeah, they're not all
so
loading into the bullet
right,
at
it's
the
a
same
real
time.
item. So I would imagine that's probably the difference, and that's probably the problem, but he said they're working on a solution, so hopefully but, like, that's the one difference that I feel like I would be more open to, being able to do that, being able to pack your mag in game outside of your inventory with a little bit of like, slower reload time if you move around or, the ability to miss a bullet or two if you,
Right.
like try to move quickly or, something
Yeah.
that's a
Because
penalty,
it's
but
very
you can
doable.
yeah,
Even somebody that has very little experience shooting is going to be able to take a magazine with some rounds in like in a pouch or wherever and just grab one out, load it up, grab one out, load it up. Now, obviously, like you said, if you're walking or trying to move quickly, like it's going to be slower. You're missing some. You're dropping bullets, so you lose a couple. Whatever effect or negativity they want to put to it would be fine. Or even just make it to where you're stationary. You just lose so much information when you're in your inventory and you're stuck reloading because you already are just hearing the click of your gun and you might miss footsteps from a distance or something, but then you're also losing your visual too. So even if they make it just stationary, I can load my magazine, which you wouldn't imagine allowing the person to walk on top of that would be a difficult thing. And
but
it could also be Nikita just saying, "Oh, that's too hard," and they've already got it ready for 1.0, you know?
right. That's really the only thing, I can think of, like, that I would like to see a change when it comes to, like, realism versus, like, difficult, um, or realism versus actual gameplay,
Right.
I would consider that still able to be classified as realism, but right now it's too difficult, like, it's unnecessarily more difficult than it should be.
Yeah, I mean, if you're running low on ammo and magazines in a firefight and you go to reload, you have to go into your inventory and sit without any visual and limited audio while you pack a mag.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, not
it's
fun,
no, and depending on the
and other games have
situation, that's life or
did it.
death.
Yeah, other games have did it the right way, as much as I don't like to give those games credit, Arena Breakout kinda set the tone for that because once people started seeing it in there, they're like, "Wait a minute, this should be in Tarkov." I've heard
Yeah,
tons and
yeah.
tons of streamers, that's the first thing they thought when they started playing that game. They're like, "Wait a minute, I can move
I
around
can
and
mode my
pack a mag?"
mags. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Now a lot of people, if you play, like, DayZ and stuff, you've already been able to do that for a while, so, you've already known that that was, kinda another option, but
I think Daisy does
I
it
think
pretty well.
it does. I mean, it does it the same way, like, you can
Yeah.
start you don't even have to go into your inventory period.
No,
If you
you just
have
hold.
ammo in your inventory, yeah, just hold
Yeah.
R and it'll start packing the mag. Like, you have to get the mag out. That's
Right.
but
That
still.
should that's expected. You should have to go in your
Yeah,
inventory to get the things ready.
but,
But you're able
I
to
mean
walk with it. You can still move around
yeah,
and do your stuff. And obviously, Daisy and Tarkov are a little bit different on scaling and pacing and stuff like that. But
right,
you just lose so much valuable information when you're stuck in your inventory just packing mags. And some people run mags to zero. I know you and I both like to just keep everything topped off as often as possible. So we're kind of hitting tab a lot and going in there and just repacking.
right.
But
Yeah,
like,
because of
think
that.
about the people that don't do that and that run their max to zero and they go through a couple of them. Those guys are stuck in inventory for a very long amount of time, and that's even worse. Like that
Yeah,
sucks. That
yeah,
really sucks. I just couldn't imagine doing that. Um,
yeah.
so
And there's
yeah,
not a lot of
that's
stuff like that. Like, that's like I said, that's, like, the one big thing that I've always kinda thought, like, I hope they do change.
right.
But, it's like majority of the stuff that's, considered real, I'm cool with it, and I think most people are,
I would like for them to fix the drink time animation for max energies and tarcolas and stuff, rat cola, stuff like that. I don't know about you, but I don't chug my sodas or my energy drinks. You know, it takes me a few drinks. I can't just knock it down in a hurry. So I would appreciate it if they would slow it down for me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess if you want that.
Don't you want to enjoy your drinks more?
I mean,
No, I mean there really isn't anything that you can
no,
like really point out and be like they got to fix this. This is bad in the realism side. Um, Obviously you could say, "Oh, the audio bugs. You shouldn't lose your audio." You can make a smart ass remark, of course, but like when it comes down to the actual gameplay loop and stuff, they have
yeah,
done it so well that there really isn't much that I would change. There isn't
yeah,
anything
actual
else I would change.
mechanics
There's nothing else I would
that
change.
can be labeled as arcade versus realistic, like, there's not much.
No. If I can pack my mags without being in my inventory, I have nothing else I would like to see changed in Tarkov. I'm good with inertia where it's at. If anything, it could probably be a little more severe just because, that's kind of the real world implication would be it's a little more severe.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I
but
mean,
I
it
again, I think they hit that nail on the head with just keeping it in a well set in reality game that is still very entertaining and fun to play.
yeah. Yeah, I'd have no complaints, if they didn't change anything else, like, I'd be okay with where it's at.
Yeah. I mean, dude, they could have went so far left that we could be playing just a almost Arma, like a Reforger type
Yeah,
situation.
yeah, they coulda went
Um,
straight milsim, yeah, it's not a
yeah,
simulation, and that's a good thing.
that is a good thing. You got just the right blend of arcade extraction shooter survival game and realism, and I think that's what most people want.
Yeah.
Um, I can't think of anything else that I want to add to this. I don't. Not a lot's happened this week. Nothing too much going
No, it's
on.
slow news week.
Yeah. Relentless is rough. The task has been kicking my ass. Outside of that, nothing really going on. That's all I've been working on Tarkov. So like, I don't even have anything cool to add on that front.
Yeah, I haven't played a lot. I've played few labs raids, I'll go in every few days and
Make some money up.
play a couple raids, yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like I've just,
What have you been doing? What game you been playing lately?
right now I'm playing Kingdom Come: Deliverance 2, which,
Pretty good.
very good game,
Yeah.
highly recommended. Yeah, just as good, if not better than the first so far. I mean, I'm
Nice.
not very far into the game.
Does it have DLSS
Maybe
4 yet? It has
I
frame
mean, you
gen all
can
that, right? It has all the
no, 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 no,
no. Okay.
it does not have any of that. No RTX, no frame gen. It has DLSS 3, but you can switch it just like you do in
Right.
Tarkov. You
Yeah.
can switch it to 4, which I did, and, it looks great.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like you do in the NVIDIA app, you can just, switch it over to 4.
Yeah. And
But yeah,
and
there's no,
that's something
surprisingly, there's,
else.
like, no serious, like, NVIDIA stuff except for DLSS, that's the only
It's
thing.
kind of surprising with what the game is. I mean, it's a pretty huge game, right? Like
It's a
in depth,
huge
like
game, but
scale and
similar to Tarkov, it's a small studio. Warhorse, I think his name is studios.
yeah.
Um, it's a pretty small studio with a small budget, and because of that, it's running on a heavily modified version of like the Cry engine, which is like the same thing like Hunt
Okay. Yeah.
Showdown.
Yeah.
So whereas on Cry engine, it's not up to date with like frame
DLSS
gen and
features or frame gen features and
yeah, frame gen and like ray tracing
RTX
and
and ray tracing. Yeah.
but what's awesome is it's a stable, proven engine that's heavily modified to where it looks beautiful, it looks great, it runs great. You can pretty much max it out on any recent graphics card and get a stable 60 FPS.
Nice.
Um, on my 4070 Ti running at 1440p ultra settings with DLSS set at balanced, I'm anywhere between 110 and like 150 FPS everywhere I've been. So yeah, it's a good game.
Nice. That reminds me, DLSS 4 on Tarkov is a godsend. That
Yeah,
is
looks great.
huge, right? I was I think everybody was pretty surprised to see Tarkov on the list of approved games that were DLSS 4
Yeah,
ready. Um,
yeah,
it smoothed out the picture. Oh my god, stutter much. It smoothed out the picture at depth. It's got really crisp frame rate now. Like it I'm in heaven. I'm loving it. I'm running it on performance, and I've gained 30 plus frames in most situations, if not more,
yeah,
on certain maps. Um,
yeah. It's
and it runs
nice.
well. I'm not having any issues with it. I haven't like had to turn it off and check settings, and like I haven't done. It's just working.
Yeah, yeah. It's
It's
definitely
it's smooth. I like it.
performance wise. I haven't gained a lot. Just because it's like sometimes in Tarkov, it's like there's not a lot to be gained, but it's
Right.
like in certain sections, like you said, yeah, I have gained a lot, but in
Nice
most
chunk of
sections,
frame rate.
yeah, but just looks wise, that's the thing, man. It just
Yeah.
looks so much better.
Yeah. Like I can go to Lighthouse now. I can get a solid 90 to 110 FPS, and it looks clean. And most of
Yeah,
the time, like Lighthouse 90 FPS, I'm not entirely happy with it. I know I should be getting more. Lighthouse is one of those frustrating maps, though.
yeah,
But
it's a
the
hard to
fact that
run
I can
map.
go there, and even when the frames aren't super high or great, you still have a really clean image. And I think that's about as good as we can ask for right now with Tarkov.
Well, it's like I've been running DLSS 2 in Tarkov for so long
Yeah.
that now it's like I was already gonna run it anyways. And it's like, so having 4 available, and that's the thing, 4, eh, you if you would go run DLSS 2 on performance and then go run DLSS 4 on performance, you're not gonna get as good of performance on DLSS 4. Like, it's gonna cost you more frames,
Yeah.
but that's the trade-off, is now you
You
can
get a
run it in
super good image.
performance. Yeah, you can run it in performance, which before I would never go below, quality.
Quality.
It's
Yeah,
like,
quality
yeah,
every time.
now you can drop down to performance, it looks better than the old quality used to, so in return, you're getting a better picture and more frames. Like,
Right.
setting to setting, you get lose a little frames, but the fact that you can drop down the settings so much now, you
Yeah.
actually gain frames, so the only thing I want is Tarkov to actually implement DLSS 4 in the game, so you don't have to go do the DLSS
NVIDIA app
swap in the
stuff.
NVIDIA
Yeah.
app.
Yeah.
Yeah, implement it in the game, add that just for everybody. Because
I'm
there's
sure they
always gonna
will.
be a lot of people who have no idea about that, and they're just
Yeah.
gonna miss out on it. But the fact that they already worked with NVIDIA to get listed as a,
Ready to
legit,
roll, can do it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was, on the website, like, Escape from Tarkov is on, the list, so it's like, as long as they, keep doing that and add more stuff to make the game run better, hopefully frame gen maybe next,
That would be
like,
nice.
I hope they do that.
Yeah. And I imagine they're gonna at least try to, right?
Yeah, I would say
I don't
so.
see why they wouldn't. But yeah, outside of that, I think that covers pretty much everything that's going on this week. Uh, I'll throw it in here just so you guys are aware of it. The official the official Escape from Tarkov Discord server is and has been banning people for being associated with any kind of cheating Discord or RMT servers or anything related to the Discord side of it and cheating. They have been purging out their server so that the legit players can find the legit Sherpas, and they obviously don't want their official Escape from Tarkov Discord server where new players are expected to find their way to and kind of get help and learn information. You're not going to want that full of cheaters. So like it's not something we have a lot to say about. It's an awesome thing. It's good to see progress in any step or in any direction when it comes to cheating. Um, so that's pretty cool just to know. We got the update with some cheating components or anti-cheat components, and then they're purging out the Discord server, and they're doing what they can. And it's just nice to see them telling us about it at least. Um,
Right. Yeah,
but yeah,
if you have anything to do with any cheating Discord server or any kind of, bannable offense Discord server, you cannot be associated with the actual BSG Discord server. That's
yep,
kinda the way it should be. I'm happy they did it, you know, it's good for new players, and
Yeah,
hopefully it just, continues to do stuff like that.
right. At first, I kind of thought about it. I was like, wait, what about, that person, because it says no appeals, and I kind of got hung up on that a little bit. I was like, what about like that person that joined their friend to run raids? Like, why are they getting, but then it's like, well, you're not joining a friend who cheats in a server that is unreliable. Like you're not,
Well,
and a
if
lot
your
of time
cheater friend is pulling you into a cheating server, then that's on
you're
him.
probably aware of it too, though. I mean,
Yeah,
I would imagine so. Why would you not just play in your regular server?
yeah,
Like questions are going to start to come up and things. So it
yeah, if
started
you're
to make
any
more sense to
association
me.
yeah, any association, it's better to just ban them all, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's the
Get them
safe play.
gone. Yep.
If you're in a cheating server, no matter how you got there, you should not be allowed to be in the, like, legit BSG server.
Well, and that's the thing too, is a cheating server is obviously not just like a dude who cheats in his server. Like
No,
it's buyers and sellers and cheat devs and like the whole little community there. Or maybe not.
a known hangout, like a known spot where they all
Yeah.
go and, like, share their it's what it's for. It's to have a
Tell
community
them
of
what to
cheaters.
update, when to
Yeah,
update, what works, what doesn't work, what's being detected, things like that. And it's one of those things they just need to purge out of the way anyways, and it's against Discord
yeah, it'd
TOS and all that, but it's
be nice to get rid of those servers in general, but keeping them as far away from the BSG servers is a good first step.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're gonna have a lot of new players make their way into that Escape from Tarkov server. And the
Right.
last thing you want is them to be influenced or have cheating just like kind of thrown in their face, or even I, I I don't know about you, but like if I were to hop in a new game and somebody started helping me and then I found out that person was cheating, I'd be like, oh well, that kind of sucks. Like that, it's it's not on me and I shouldn't feel any way about it, but I'd still feel greasy about it. You know what I mean? Like I took advantage because this person was cheating and I gained benefit from it. Like, ugh, it's
Yeah,
dirty. So it's like just keeping new players away from it as much as possible, and even just like players that just need people to play with or want people to play with.
yeah,
But yeah, it's a good thing all the way around. There's not a lot to be said about it. Fuck cheaters, right? Like get them gone. But yeah,
yeah.
so outside of that, I think that's everything. Anything you want to add?
No, nothing I can think of.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate you. We'll catch you next week. See ya.